Yo, what is going on, everybody? Episode 69 of many. We've got a guest here today, Ellie. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
For everybody listening, Ellie is basically my day one. She's been with us since we started, and so we're going to kind of unpackage that today, go over how she stumbled into our world, how she's managed to stay here this entire time and not quit on us, and yeah, so we're just going to go back and forth, have a good conversation, a little interview here, give you guys another point of, different perspective here on the business. And so thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Probably should have had
Finally.
should have had you a while ago, but it is what it is. So we are here. And so I want to start this interview off. Let's just talk about, before we even got to working with us and stumbling in by us, tell us a little bit about like where you grew up, where you're from originally. Let's get to like college days, traveling abroad a little bit, maybe a little impact of that, because I know I talk about traveling and seeing the world a little bit, and I think that's important. And then, let's just start with pre-Grizzly, however you want to sum that up.
Sure. I grew up in northern Illinois, in the DeKalb area. I am the oldest of three sisters. Then in 1995, I moved to central Illinois to go to school at the University of Illinois in Champaign-Urbana. I graduated from there in 1999. I met my husband right around that time, and we got married in 2000, had our first child in 2001, and our second child in 2003. While I was in college, I did do a year of study abroad in England, and got to travel to France, Italy, a few other places in Europe. I went back again to Europe right after I graduated from college. So yeah, definitely good times. Love doing that. Traveling is so good for anybody. So
what, there's a couple of stories that I know when you're traveling abroad and that kind of stuff, but is there any like major takeaways that you had from traveling abroad, like especially at a younger age? Because I just feel like experiencing the world and all that stuff's really important. So was there any like major takeaway for you at that time? Yeah,
it really just makes you realize that what you know and what you understand is not all there is. Like just because you think things are a certain way and that's like factual and cut and dried, they do it differently in other places in the world. Just like how you eat, how you sleep, how your family functions, how you work, like your life-work balance. All these things are treated differently in other places. And in a lot of places, they're treated better than the way that we handle them here. Like in the United States, we tend to not have a great life-work balance. In England, everything grinds to a halt at like 11 o'clock. People eat lunch, they lay out in the sun, they go shopping, they do appointments, they take a nap. They might roll back into work around 1 o'clock. Real nice, like, great way to handle things. And here you get 20 minutes and you stuff your food in your face and then you're right back to work again.
Yeah.
So yeah, I really enjoyed just learning different things, meeting different people. I lived in a house with a guy from Germany, a girl from Albania, a few English people. So that was just fascinating, getting to know like how they handle things, how they perceive things, learning different languages, eating different food. A bathtub full of sangria from my Spanish roommate, just all kinds of really fun things. So
that's cool. Yeah, I think just understanding, not like having a better understanding of not just like the American way and like how that stuff. I just think it's good for like that entire view. So okay, so that's awesome. How did we end up in Wisconsin? What brought you guys to where you are now?
Sure. So my husband and I were living in Champaign. We lived there about 20 years. We had the two boys, and then we did a brief stint where we moved to a campground, and we managed a campground in central Illinois for a couple of years, which was a crazy experience, just like managing people and managing projects and managing campers and people. And it was actually a lot like here, just that it was like kind of chaos all the time. But we did a lot of different things and learned a lot of things. And then we ended up back in Champaign. In 2013, our daughter was born. That whole time, off and on, I was working at Chicago Title Insurance Company, which is like property title. So basically, anytime anybody buys or sells a house or a commercial building or farmland, as you very well know, you contact the title company and they run a title report. and they tell you all of the things that might be affecting that piece of property and gives you a chance to clean up any issues that are out there before you purchase. So I worked there for about 12 years. My college degree is actually in art history, of all things. So I use my degree all the time. So useful. Yep. I loved college. I loved learning. I do love art history. I got to meet a lot of awesome people and like learn awesome things, some of which I do still use to this day. But ended up right after I graduated getting a job as a courier at Chicago Title Insurance Company. And I worked there, like I said, off and on 12 years. And then in 2015, so at that point we had 3 kids who were just going into high school, just going into middle school, and like 2. Elizabeth was 2. And my husband had gone back to college, and he was just graduating. I was at that point working from home as a seamstress. So I was staying, home with our daughter, and we were talking to my family, and I had family that lived in Wisconsin. Both my sisters lived here. And my mom was retiring, and my dad was retiring, and we all just said, let's move to Wisconsin, because we always really loved it here. And we looked at places in the Driftless area, and we looked at places kind of around Madison, and then my youngest sister was managing the Greenway House Bed and Breakfast in Green Lake, and we just started looking for properties in the area. So we found beautiful property, acres with a big log cabin on it, and we all moved here. So now I live on one piece of property with my mom. She has a little tiny house, and then my sister and her husband have a house. And then we live in the big log cabin because we're the biggest family with the 3 kids. And then my other sister and her husband built a house, and they live there with their 2 kids. And then my dad and his wife, my parents are divorced, moved to Green Lake. And so we all live now within about 5 miles of each other, the whole family.
Do you have any reason to head back down to Illinois as far as like family stuff down there, or not really anymore?
My husband's mother still lives there, and some other family members live there, but we go there very little.
Fair enough. So now we are in Wisconsin. We have a couple kids and everybody's new school and that kind of stuff. So that's 2015. Mm-hmm. So let's fast forward to 2017. And let's kind of get into what was going on in your personal life to happen to stumble into our life. And I want to hear like from your perspective too, like what that was like meeting me at that time. Because obviously that was nothing to do with work, but like let's just talk about like that, like how you came across this, what you were doing in your personal life to want to even search that way and all that kind of stuff. So
sure,
this would be like early 2017, right? Like the spring of 2017 or something.
Yep. So we moved here. Our house was great, but it needed a lot of work. It had been a foreclosure property, so we were working on the house. I was still working as a seamstress, so we had turned what I think was originally the master suite in the house into my sewing studio. So I spent a lot of time in there. I spent a lot of time with Elizabeth, who was, 2, 3, 4 at that point. Going to sports games and stuff with the boys, like they were in football and wrestling, and so we were busy. And I've always had a garden, so I had my garden going, and those are, as you probably don't know, a huge amount of work. So it's not like I was just sitting around, but I was, at that point, I think I was 38 when we moved here. So then 39, 40. And I started to notice that my grip strength was like going. Like I would go to pick something up and I would like really be struggling to carry it. Just doing those activities was getting a little harder. And I didn't like it. So I was complaining to a friend that I just was getting so weak and pathetic. And he said, I think you should join a gym and you should do strong lifts 5x5. I don't know if you know what strong lifts 5x5 is. You probably do. But for everybody else, it is a program where you do basically 3 compound lifts. So you're doing your deadlift, your squat, and your bench. And then you're doing a very small number of accessory lifts like pull-ups or push-ups or rows, I think was another one. So to a person who had literally never even walked into a gym, I thought gyms were stupid. I thought, what are they doing in there? Like, why are you spending so much time on the treadmill? Like, just make a garden and you'll get plenty of exercise. So I didn't know anything. Never been a gym member. And he's like, yeah, I think you should do deadlifts. So I'm like, oh, I don't, I don't know what deadlifts are. So I had gone to the grocery store recently, and I happened to see an advertisement for the bodybuilding in Princeton. And I think you told this story already way back when very well. I just kind of blew by. I saw advertisements for like, come and join this gym, this business, whatever, come and get in a good workout. And I was like, that sounds great. And I remembered that I had seen exercise equipment and people working out through the window of the lumberyard building, which is by the dollar store in Princeton. I thought, oh, I bet that's it. Of course, being me, I did not stop to read the address. So I go to the lumberyard building. I pull up. I walk in the front door. It's basically like dark, and there's 2 or 3 people in there that are like, there's a girl doing lunges, carrying some big weights. There's some rubber mats on the floor, and like that's it. And I'm like, hello, can I come in? And I think you came out that day, or did I come back? You came out.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. And I said, I want to join a gym. I want to do strong lifts 5x5, but I don't know anything. Like, can you get me started? And you were like, well, we're new and we're not even open yet.
I think you were like, yeah, I'm looking for like the bodybuilding Princeton. Like you said something about like the bodybuilding Princeton or something. I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about, but I think this place might be better for you or whatever,
And it was.
But so now you've walked into the gym accidentally, ironically, and you want to start training here. What was my response was like, kind of like, I think so, but let's think about it. And like, what do I charge? Right? I think those were some of the questions. I'm like, I don't really know.
You didn't say any of that to me. You just said we're not technically open yet, but you can stay.
Got it.
Like, I will allow you.
So we allowed you to stay.
And
then did we do like 3 sessions? Like we did like 3 sessions for like $99 or something at the time.
That's exactly what it was.
We did like a little intro, and then because I think did I do that later with like maybe Owen or something too, or like
I believe so. Yep.
Trained him and William a little bit too. So okay, so we did 3 sessions together. And what was that experience like again? Because like you said, you walked in, there was like mats, there was weights, but there was like literally nothing else. It was dark. You were there early on. I worked out with the lights off and loud music and all that kind of stuff. So what was that experience like? Those couple sessions? I don't.
We did box squats. I know that. And like I said, I had never done any of these lifts before, so I had no idea what I was doing. My legs were so sore the next day. But yeah, you taught me how to do bench, deadlift, and squat. And then you kind of let me go because you were busy. And there were, I believe, at that point, 2 squat racks, a couple plyo boxes, dumbbells up to like maybe 50 or 100. And that was literally all there was.
Yeah.
That was it. But that was all I needed to do those lifts that I wanted to do. So I spent the next 6 months, like literally 3-4 times a week, like, I'm going to learn how to squat. I'm going to do it right. I'm going to learn how to deadlift, and I'm going to do it right. And I want to lift as much as I can. Like, I want to lift as heavy as I possibly can. And I loved it. Like, I had so much fun. It was such a challenge. And I've never been athletic. I'm sure that's surprising to you. I've never been very good at like throwing or catching things. I've never been very good at running. Like, none of all these things kind of eluded me. So I'm in there and I'm lifting and I'm good at it. Okay, your sister came in like the second week I was there, and she was, I think, 14 at the time. And this was the week I turned 40. I joined the gym the week I turned 40. It was literally 2 days before my 40th birthday. So your sister comes in, this little tiny thing, no warm up at all, puts on a weight belt, puts like a 45 on each side of the bar, and just starts doing reps. And like my jaw drops, and I'm like, oh my God. Completely blew my mind. I had no idea that like women could lift that much. I didn't even know people could lift that much. So I obviously like didn't know anything. So at that point I start like reading and I'm like watching videos and YouTube and like I'm really trying hard to like get the technique right. And you guys are coming in, and by you guys I mean like you and all your high school friends.
Yeah.
Because at this point, I think you were 19.
Yeah.
And you, I think, I don't remember the whole timeline, but like you were gone briefly because I think you went to college. And
I was like kind of going up to Green Bay a little bit. So like I would be gone for like a couple days. And yeah, like it was. So that was one of my other questions too, was like, what times a day did I like let you in the gym? And like, how did that even work? Because like, I feel like I would just, somebody would text me and be like, yo, can I work out? And I would just show up and be like, yeah, man, we can get a workout at like 5 a.m. So like the gym wasn't always just open, I felt like. But what was that experience like early on too? Like how did you get into the gym? How did all that work?
So my recollection is that I would always just drop off my daughter at school and then I would go to the gym. So it would be like 7:45, 8 o'clock in the morning. And when I would get there, it would be dark. The music would be really loud, like no lights on at all, just a little light coming in through the windows. And you and all your buddies, there were 5 or 6 of you. You know, it was Kyle and Goody, and I don't even remember who else.
Yeah.
Kind of a rotating list of people. And it was almost like joining a cult because you would all lift so intently and you were taking turns. And it was like, you know, one person would do deadlifts and the rest of you would sit there and like really be concentrating. And there wasn't yelling and backslapping and all that stuff. It was just this very like intense thing. So a lot of times I was there by myself because I think that you would just open the gym and then go out on a job or go to school or something. But the building would be open and I would just get there and do my thing and learn as best as I could. And then other times you guys would be there. I don't remember ever having a problem getting in.
Well, I know my mom obviously worked in the back section there too. So I know sometimes I would, hey, Mom, can you open the gym at 6 a.m. instead? Yeah. And she'd be like, oh, fine. Then she'll start work early and she'll open the doors for everybody else or whatever. So yeah, I just, going back to that time, like just talking about this, like just takes me back. And it's like so cool to like those couple windows, the lights off, the natural lighting that would come in, the music.
Really loud hip hop.
Yeah. Well, and then like, just like, but like no cares, right? Like there's nobody that could tell us what we could and couldn't do. There's like 10 people that we knew that would come to the gym. So like it's way different than it is now. Like way different, right? Now it's a public gym. Now we, you know, everybody knows who we are for the most part or whatever. Yeah. So it's not like the passion that was there at that time. Like you said, how much you loved it and you could focus on yourself and like it was something new and great. That's why like for me when I train, I try to go to Berlin to work out and then I come to Watoma to work because like I can't separate the two. Like it's really hard. And so when you come to work in Watoma, it's not easy to work in the gym and then also go work out in the gym.
You are absolutely correct.
I mean, I had several years there, like from, you know, kind of like around that COVID time to a couple of years after, before, whatever. My workouts were horrible. They were inconsistent. It was really hard to work in the backside of Princeton and then want to work out at 4 or 5 o'clock. Not that it's way much of a different business now than it was even at that point, but obviously I've come around a little bit more now. So, okay, so that's the early days. Princeton was dark. You got in the gym. The music was loud. Me and the cronies were there. We had a group of us, and it was always rotating. So what was like the first, see if you get this answer right, what was like the first thing I asked you to do for us? Like how?
Detail equipment
inside the gym? So it was just like, hey, could you, and why did that even come up? Like, because I wasn't cleaning it well. I remember when I first started, I would like mop the gym like right away in the morning. Like I would mop as soon as we were done at like from 8 to 10 or whatever times we were working out. And then if we did another workout from 4 to 6 p.m., if that's what time I was opening it, like I would mop. So I was mopping like twice a day. I would go through and like wipe pads and stuff that down. But like, why was I getting new equipment and I needed your help? Like it's just dirty and was I giving you a free membership? Was I paying you?
Yeah. So I paid my membership for probably the first 6 months. So that puts us at about like December or January-ish. And by that point, you had opened the second room. Yep. So it's now 2 small rooms that were each like, what, 20 by 20?
Yeah, they were
22, 24, somewhere in there.
They were like 1,400 square feet, I think, or something each. So it was just under 3,000 square we have now. Okay.
And at that point, you had started just bringing in equipment. Like you were bringing in vintage stuff that was like, you know, a calf raise or but very specific, like bicep curl. And we still have a lot of that equipment to this day.
Yeah.
So there were now at that point 4 squat racks, a full dumbbell rack. And as you were bringing stuff in, you know, now it's winter and it's coming in all salty.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yes.
That's right.
Yes.
And because I was like, either I or somebody was going to pick up a bunch of equipment, and then we only had an open trailer, and it was the trailer we still have to this day, ironically enough. same floorboards. Some of them are missing, and lights sometimes work. But so we still have the same trailer. And yeah, I remember we'd go to Chicago, go to Michigan, go to whatever state we needed to, or I'd send somebody else with that trailer, and then they'd come back, and the trailer would be coated in salt, which means the equipment was coated in salt. So okay, so the first task was kind of cleaning some equipment a couple hours a week or a month, and got like a free membership for it.
Yeah.
What was the next thing that we did together?
I think there was some amount of like cleaning the bathrooms, because I think that you didn't highly prioritize cleaning the bathrooms to start with.
Oh, for sure. I mean, there's only like So I think my mom, honestly, and her workers were the ones that were like kind of cleaning the bathrooms here and there or something like that. Or like my mom had a situation worked out where like Melissa or whoever would like clean them once in a while or something. Yeah. But we really didn't have any members. So it was like we went from like 5 or 10 of us to like kind of working out. And then all of a sudden it was like, okay, now we've got like 20 kind of people working out. And like we should probably have a system, which wasn't any of a system then. But
yeah, it wasn't really a system, but I did just start checking them every day. So I would like do, I didn't super deep clean them every day, but I did like check and make sure there was toilet paper. And if something smelled bad, like I took care of it. I took out the garbage as needed. So there was some amount of that. Chalkboards was a pretty early on thing.
Chalkboards, yeah.
Yeah, yep.
So we had, for those of you listening, we had like this, we'd walk into double doors, and then right away in our lobby entrance, whatever you want to call it, we had like this chalkboard thing that my mom gave us, where it was like 3 individual chalkboards that we stacked together, framed out, and then Ellie would do this really cool, like quote of the week, quote of the month, this cool drawing, and it was just like this cool little entrance thing. So it wasn't, I think in the beginning it was more regular, where it was like a weekly or
it was monthly. Because I would put quite a bit of effort into it.
Yeah,
like I would be there working on it.
Time.
I'm the sort of person that like, if you give me a small project, I'm going to turn it into like this complex, fun.
Yeah.
I'm going to really put some effort into it.
Complex.
There's no little like, I'm not just going to do some little sketch, like I was printing off the quote and then cutting it out so that like the letters look nice. And I drew Arnold Schwarzenegger once, and I would just do art, probably way more than what you actually wanted.
Yeah, it was cool though. It was really cool. And then like all of a sudden, like we didn't really know what would happen, so then all of a sudden it would be changed. We're like, oh, look how cool this was. So I still think there's one thing that we're missing that you did early on, unless this is after all of this.
I remember helping with signups and stuff.
You were a seamstress.
Oh, yeah. Making pads.
You did upholstery for us.
Yeah,
I think that was one of the first things that you did.
Yeah, you're right.
So
I completely blanked on that because I don't do that anymore.
Yeah. Well, so like that was like when I first met you, you were like you guys did what was it called that you
sword fighting.
Okay, so like the sword fighting stuff, right? And so your seamstress business was making a lot of stuff for that industry, those people.
That industry.
I don't know what that is called, and I don't want to miscall it anything. So
it might be a cottage industry. It's like just a bunch of weirdos who really love medieval stuff. And so we get together and hit each other with foam swords, and we wear, it's called garb, not costumes.
Okay.
But it's definitely, it's not an industry. It's a whole bunch of people that are like recreating skills. And so they know how to sew, and they might know how to blacksmith, and they might know, some herbalism or something, or how to make meat, or like they know all this weird stuff. So almost all of the clothing that gets worn for these events, because we get together, I don't do this anymore. But people get together, weekly, monthly, and then several times a year for a big event. And all of the clothing that gets worn to those events is made by hand. And much of it is like very detailed, very intricate, like lots of personal symbolism. So my job was to sew tunics, essentially, like dresses for men, but with personal symbols on them.
So when you told me this originally, my original 19-year-old thought was, who is this lady and why is she so weird?
Why is she so weird?
So, but then naturally, young Colton was like, well, can you do upholstery? Because like that would be cool, right?
Yeah.
So we were getting all this equipment, and none of the upholstery was ever like in that bad of shape, but I still had this vision at that time, like, oh, this blue would be so cool, right?
Yeah,
so, like,
you were still like painting, everything that was white, you were painting it black.
Yeah.
And then you would put the little PA on it because it was still priority athlete at that time. And then you wanted all the pads to match.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, so we found a blue that was really, or whatever, right? So
Naugahyde.
So I would, yes, when we got equipment in, I would take it outside. I would spray paint it essentially, whatever color, the blue and the black and that kind of stuff. So that was a good time. Not because
we still have a lot of those pads.
Yeah,
like
we do.
They still look just as good as they did when I made them.
Yeah, the Princeton 2
Yeah.
hammer pieces and the calf raise. So that was the thought that I had too, was you were doing some pads for us here on the side, and that was an experience too. So okay, so now we've done upholstery, you're helping out around the gym a little bit. Let's fast forward a little bit, because we could probably make this be like a 6-hour thing, and I'm sure we'll probably miss some stuff that we'll want to come back and do. But so let's fast forward to the first real job that I like, hey, why don't you help us out with this? Like, let's talk about that next venture where that was, right?
Yeah. Would be Green Lake Fitness.
Green Lake, yes.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So at this point, like 2 years have gone by. I'm now like a somewhat competent lifter, I guess. I'm winding down my sewing business because I'm tired of it and burned out. And I'm just tired of being at home all the time. Except for my hour at the gym in the morning, which was honestly at that point stretching out to like 2.5 hours because I really just liked being there. So I believe then at that point you took over owner-operator position at Green Lake Fitness. You had worked there previously as the personal trainer. So it was already sort of like, in my mind. And you and the guys were like running it, but you were also really busy trying to do PF stuff and deliver equipment. And so you needed somebody to just sit there and smile at the customers. That was how you sold it to me. Bring your book. You can sit there and read while you, just do a sign up here and there. You made it sound really nice. Yeah. So I go over there, I walk in the door, and it is like a disaster. Like, the gym is just dark and dingy and not particularly clean. And you guys had started tearing up the office to like remodel it. So you had pulled a bunch of stuff off the walls. You had like taken the furniture out. So it's just like a mess. And you hand me all these papers and you're like, well, we need to, kind of organize these papers. And here's this super old computer system. Have fun figuring it out. It was like, not user friendly at all. So the office needed to be painted and cleaned up. And, there was like a pile of lost and found that was like this high. And so there was just a lot of things that needed to be done. So unsurprisingly, I did 0 book reading.
Never?
I never had time to read a book there. You remember there were lockers that were like perpetually just locked?
In Green Lake?
In Green Lake, yeah.
In where?
It was like sort of in the back corner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where eventually that wall went up and stuff, yeah.
Yes. So there was just a lot of things that needed to be done.
Yeah.
So I hauled everything out of the office. I painted the office. The first of many painting projects for Grizzly Fitness. Got that all beautiful. Like, I think we replaced the towels and the towel shelf because it was just kind of all rickety. And I was like getting to know the customers and getting to know the software. And then you said, let's try out Gym Master. Like, basically, here it is. Have fun. And at this point, you were getting really busy with like deliveries and equipment and stuff like that. So you guys weren't around much. And I was working like 18 hours a week. And we ended up basically painting the entire gym. We expanded it. I think we probably doubled it in size, right? In those 2 big back rooms.
Yeah, those random little rooms that we... Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Green Lake was... I mean, so for those of you listening, like Green Lake was like in a basement of a old courthouse, basically, right? And they had like all these little chopped up rooms. And like when I first got there, like the first thing that I did was since I knew how to move gym equipment a little bit now from PF stuff, I actually like reorganized the entire gym. So like then Kate Salas comes down like 2 days after like my first day. And I was like, hey, do you mind if I organize some stuff? She's like, yeah, it's fine. And like 2 days later, she comes back down, like the gym's completely different. And we obviously didn't really have any money at the time. So like the treadmills were falling apart, but there's not a whole lot we could do there and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I was the trainer there for a while. I was managing it for a while, like 20 hours a week. Eventually I stepped away. And then like Damon and Nolan and these other guys were kind of helping run it. And then we were like, hey, Ellie, why don't you just like help us maybe run this thing? And yeah, I mean, there was that just like the setup and the rooms and everything about it. Like there was kind of like not endless work, but there's always things that we could be doing. Again, every facility we do, there's always stuff that we could be doing to make it better. So now you helped us with Green Lake, and so you were eventually kind of like managing that facility. Once COVID happened, that's when we went to the Gym Master route. We closed in 2020 for like 64 days. We implemented Gym Master. That's the system we use for our gym software stuff. And then reopened, and now Green Lake is now Gym Master, and also Princeton, I believe, is now Gym Master. Or maybe we did the switch earlier in Green Lake, and then we moved it to Princeton after COVID, maybe?
I think so,
I think
because we realized how valuable it was to have really good software and to be 24/7.
Yeah.
Because I should go back and say, Princeton through this time was not 24/7. There were just a variety of people, me eventually being one of them, that had keys, and we just had to go lock it and unlock it every day. But you couldn't work out all the time. We didn't really have gym software there. We didn't have cameras. We didn't have anything. And so it was kind of an honor system. We sort of kept like some paper records or some very early like Excel spreadsheets of these are the people that are coming to the gym, and maybe they've paid, but maybe they haven't.
Yeah.
Like there wasn't really any system. And a lot of the people that were coming to the gym were volunteering for their memberships. Like Andy, I think we had people that would like install some windows and get a free membership, or they would, help out with PF and get a free membership.
Yeah, right.
So there were like, at that point, about, 50 or 60 people that were kind of revolving around the Princeton gym, but 30 of them weren't paying.
Yeah.
Because they were volunteering or doing some sort of work.
Yeah, just a bunch of random stuff. I mean, Andy was helping with security systems and all that stuff. So Princeton wasn't 24/7 until like 2 months after COVID had come about. So May or something of like 2020 or something, May or June, which drastically changed the business. And we were in that back section and stuff. But so at that point, okay, so now like let's dive a little bit deeper. So now we've got Green Lake and now Princeton's happening. You're still kind of just helping out like here and there, I think, kind of at that point. So like 20-ish, 30-ish hours a week, or I know there's a while you were working like 40, 45 hours a week, and we're like, hey, we want to peel this back a little bit because I didn't really have any money still. And it was like, we can't be. So at what point, like, what was like 2020, 2021? I don't really remember. And then like we have like the first Christmas party we can kind of get to, which I think was like probably like 2020, I think.
I think so.
Because it was in that back office in Princeton. Yeah. Maybe.
Yeah, I'd have to look up the date on that. So I started at the gym July 5th of 2017. I started working at Green Lake Fitness September 1st of 2019. So 4 months before COVID, basically. Right. COVID was like February, March? Yeah,
February, March, like early, like the first week of March, I think.
Yeah. Okay. So I had been there about 4 months. I think by that point I was getting my personal training certificate because we wanted to do those boot camp classes, the functional fitness classes. So we had Mary and Claire and some of the other ladies from Green Lake. And I was doing 3 times a week, I think. Yeah,
because you took that over from me. I was doing the sessions, and I was like, hey, if you get certified, you can do these boot camps as well.
Yeah.
Because I was, again, with PF stuff, it was just like too unpredictable of when I could and couldn't do stuff, I think.
Right. So at this point, I'm definitely feeling like imposter syndrome, or like out and out, like I don't feel competent to do this. Like 2 years ago, I didn't know anything, and now here I am, being an expert.
Yep.
But we got through it. The ladies enjoyed the classes. I think it was actually fun. I enjoyed the learning process and all that. So I actually got my personal trainer certificate during COVID.
That was a good time too, actually, training all of those ladies in that the blue room.
Yeah.
And it was a good time. Then I had like Layman, I forget.
Nate?
No, Marty. I don't remember. Cindy and Marty maybe, or something like that. I trained them for a while. I remember they'd drive the Jeep there, and then we had our ladies for our boot camp, and Harold, and I forget the older lady's name that has since passed.
Oh yeah,
would show up in the.
Yeah, so we had some clients. Over there.
Yeah. So, anyways, kind of again, we're just going back in time here, so it's interesting to think about because so now Green Lake, Princeton, 2020. I want to say our first real Christmas party would have been like that 2020 year, and that would have been like me and you and Ryan, I think, was helping us out during COVID as well.
Yep.
Your husband was, and he was doing again odd and end stuff, and then helping PF stuff a little bit, and then it would have been like Kyle,
Nolan
was there for COVID party, and then Austin Lasansky would have been there.
Yep.
And then Blader was there, and what do we call him? John, right? But like Razor Blaze, whatever. So
there were like 5 or 6 of you,
and then like maybe
3
my parents
people
were there
from my family. No, your parents weren't there the first year. I don't think.
I think they were out somewhere else, probably.
Yeah, probably. Yep.
and
so my son was there.
Yeah.
And we just sat in the office, and I learned how to shotgun a beer.
Yep.
So that was fun.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't even know really. I don't even think it was it a planned Christmas party, or was it kind of like, let's have some beers around Christmas time in the office?
Yeah,
it's like then obviously
that was it.
Then Blader showed up and like John showed up, so it wasn't even really much of a planned thing. It was just like, so now we're in this like little. I mean, it had to have been like 15 feet wide by.
Not even. It was like 10 feet wide.
Okay. Well, I'm just trying to like look at this wall here. So maybe like 10-ish feet wide by like
15, 18, 20 feet long.
Yeah, it was just like this. And this was like the original office. Mm-hmm. And a lot of stuff actually got done in that office. Like a lot of, I mean, we just had like desks on walls and, I mean, paperwork everywhere.
I didn't have a desk because you didn't think I was important enough
No,
to
I
give
didn't
me
want to give you a desk. No. You had that desk that had to stay clean and like you could sit in there once in a while.
Yeah. You kind of tolerated my presence, but you didn't like it.
It took a long time for me to let you in, you know?
You still haven't.
Yeah. That's why this podcast
It's actually weird to like sit here and look at you while we're having a conversation, because normally we're just like working while we talk.
Yeah.
Like we don't.
Sometimes
stop
I really give full attention, and I really
occasionally, but this is a little weird.
Yeah, I feel good. So that original Christmas party was. I mean, just like now, it's just really funny to look. Yes. And it was only 5 years ago, right? Like we're coming up on year 5, but it's just
like really. It seems like it was 100 years.
I know.
Ago.
It's just like it's just so hard to even like you in the day-to-day stuff. We get so caught up in like, oh my gosh, we need to get this system done or this cleaned up, this cleaned up, and then it's like if you really go back 5 years ago to that Christmas party to now and the things that we've accomplished, and like it's actually very substantial. I feel like, but
absolutely.
In the day-to-day, we're like, oh my gosh, are we gonna get this done? Are we gonna get that done? This is so much, but.
No, when you think that we had basically two tiny little gyms that didn't do a whole lot besides be 24/7 and offer a class here or there, and you were doing PF, but that was it. And then you said, I think I'm going to buy a building in Berlin. And I was like, I don't think that's such a good idea.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay, well, so...
I was like, we just have too many things we need to finish here, and like, we're not ready for that. Like, we don't have the resources to be able to do that, and you like got upset at me.
I still remember that.
Yeah.
I'm like, why is this lady telling me to slow down when all I want to do is like, I'm
fast.
young and we got to go. Like we can't, we got no time to waste. So, yeah, I do remember that. We were like, well, maybe we should just make sure these are working good first, and then and I'm just like, no. And now obviously your mindset's probably shifted quite a bit since that conversation at that point.
Absolutely. I did not get it. Like at the time, I didn't know like the long view.
Yeah.
All I saw was like, we're running this facility for these people and we should do as good of a job as we can. Because that's what I like to do, is like do things really well. And I didn't feel like we were doing things really well. I thought we were doing them kind of half-ass, and that we could have done much better, but you were picturing a much bigger objective than what I was. And now I think in some ways we've almost swapped, where I'm like, yeah, that sounds fun. Let's go do it. We'll figure it out. And you're like, I really think we need to have our resources lined up before we make this jump.
Well, there's more people. Like at that time when I made that decision, there wasn't many people's many people weren't reliant on me or our decisions at that time. Where now there are more people reliant, obviously, and we have to make smart decisions and make sure that we've thought about them logically. At that point, it was like I could have woken up and just been like, we're doing this and we're going to do it, because there's like 3 people who would like help me do it. Now it's like, okay, now we've got 20, 30, 40 people. Like there's more decisions in place. So I do try to think a little more logically. But yeah, so we get to Berlin, and the reason we have to buy Berlin is because PF had a warehouse in Berlin, and basically it got bought from under us. Not that we were going to buy it, but like we had no idea that it was for sale or that we were even going to maybe not be there anymore. So, which I've talked a little bit about, but Berlin warehouse gets bought. The new guy kind of says, hey, I don't know if you know this, but it's been bought. I'm like, no, nobody told me. So he's like, don't worry, I'll work with you on, you getting a new place. And so then I'm with Nolan in the truck, and he goes, hey man, I found this and it was like some weird site. It wasn't even like First Weber or like a realty place. It wasn't like on, I don't know why I'm blanking, but it wasn't on like the most common sites, right? It was like some other random site. And he's like, there's this building for sale over in Berlin. Maybe we should go look at it. And I was like, all right, let's do it. And all of a sudden within, a very short period of time, it was like, hey, we're going to do this. And I think we're going to do this little gym in Berlin and then also have our warehouse there because we need space now.
Yeah.
So that's just kind of like what happened. And so this was early 2021. Now this is like February of 21 is when the deal closed, I think, right?
It closed in January, and I think we first got in there really to start working on it in February-ish.
And then he was like still kind of moving out, I think, too. So like we had an agreement with him to let him, because they had to auction all their stuff off. It was an old wood shop building. So now, Berlin, what is your role like at that time? Like, because I don't remember. Like, were you still kind of like here and there, like kind of helping out? Like at the time, we still have Green Lake, I think.
Yeah.
Whenever Gavino's first week is when Green Lake closed. Because
that was like September-ish.
Of that year?
Yeah.
Okay.
Fall of that year. So at that point, we had Princeton running, with some number of clients. It's 24/7 at that point, I think. So it's going, pretty well. Still rough around the edges, and you were still kind of, because we had those 2 front rooms, and then we moved into the back medium-sized space, and then we moved all the way into the back. So the whole time this is going on, there's this constant like shifting of stuff. And you're famous for like you said at Green Lake, this piece of equipment was here today, but it's going to be somewhere else tomorrow.
Yep.
Just like bringing in new things, moving things, changing things, like kind of trying to optimize it. So I'm helping at Princeton. I can't remember if I was still doing the chalkboards or not, but I'm washing towels and cleaning the bathrooms and signing people up and doing tours and cleaning the equipment and just doing all that basic stuff. And I'm managing Green Lake 3 days a week, still about 18 hours, running a few classes there, cleaning bathrooms. So that's going pretty smoothly. And then you said, I bought this building in Berlin. It's a mess. We're going to start cleaning it up. We'll be there on Saturday. And so I came along to like help move this along. And it was a huge amount of work.
Mm-hmm.
Remember, originally you were like, we're going to have it open in 6 weeks.
Right.
And I think it took us 4 weeks just to clean up the sawdust.
We did actually, that was our fastest turnaround though. Like we did actually turn that, like what was it, like 3 months?
3 months, yeah.
And all of a sudden, like but there was way more cost than anticipated. Only because like when you're young and dumb, we didn't think about like the electrical. We didn't think about like the true cost of it.
Yes.
We knew that there's going to be work, but we didn't realize like, the tens of thousands of dollars we spent later on just that alone.
Right.
So you came, showed up, and the sawdust was a project. I mean, that was, constant. And so what was your role once Berlin was open?
There's a lot of space. So this is where my hours went from like 20, 25 hours a week up to like 40, 45, 50 hours a week. Because you got Berlin, you really wanted it to be open fast because every day that you owned it, but it wasn't open, was losing money.
Right.
And you guys were still busy with jobs. And so you had to be gone a lot. And so I ended up like communicating with the electricians, communicating with the contractors. Not so much to start because you were really managing that project to start with, but the more you were gone, the more I was on the ground, and I ended up like I was taking deliveries of equipment, and I was cleaning, and I was picking paint colors, and I was painting, and
because we only really cleaned it for a couple days, then it was basically like it had to be our warehouse for PF.
Yes.
So like we basically brought. Like, that's what you're saying, right? You're accepting shipments and stuff because literally we cleaned like Saturday, Sunday, Monday, or whatever the 3 or 4 days were. And like that was like our big cleaning time. Then obviously there was constant cleaning. But then it was like, okay, we need to start using this warehouse. So like I think we just moved a bunch of our storage stuff in there. And then it was like shipping and receiving basically right away. And the whole space of the floor basically became like warehouse space for us, right?
Yes.
Because we were working around all that stuff the entire time we were in that facility.
Yes.
So sorry to cut you off.
No, totally okay. It went from being like a space that was full of the previous guy's stuff and sawdust and construction equipment to being like completely packed full of gym equipment. But there was still this real pressure to get it open. So you started like doing advertising and saying we're going to open soon, and the open house is such and such a day. And then you all had a big job and you left.
Nice.
So that was really my initiation there. Do you remember Bryce came and like helped me?
Yeah, hang some
Bryce
stuff.
Condon? Yeah. Came in, saved the day, helped me finish the ADA bathrooms. Oh, that's a whole story.
That is a story.
Do you even want to talk about that?
We can get into the specifics a little. We can get into the specifics of Berlin a little bit more, yeah.
Yeah, so of course we're all new to this. Like none of us have ever done a construction project of this scale, or really any scale. We had never done any construction projects at all.
No.
And here we are with like a 15,000 square foot warehouse building that needs a complete overhaul in many regards. And like you said, electrical, some HVAC stuff, some plumbing, some remodeling and painting and cleaning and all that. And like you could literally take off an outlet cover and sawdust would just come raining out of it. There was sawdust on the walls and in the bathrooms and on the ceiling and just everywhere. So I believe, I don't remember how you found out, but you went and got a permit and they told you needed to have an ADA compliant bathroom.
Yeah, I couldn't be certain, but I do know I think because we reached out to like say we're opening a fitness center that like they're like, okay, well, you need an ADA bathroom or something.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure about.
You had a permit.
Did we?
Yeah. It was just a local permit. And they said you need this bathroom.
The permit process was super easy, and the guy was basically like, yeah, you need you need to have an ADA bathroom, right? And what kind of screwed us over is we already had one of those bathrooms all plumbed out and ready.
Yes.
We already kind of have it prepped, and then it was like we found out it wasn't going to be ADA. We didn't really know. I mean, we knew. I'm not going to say we. I'm sure everybody knows what ADA was, but I didn't really know like what that meant or whatever, like. And so they're like, well, for ADA, you have to have this much space, and you need to have a grab bar, and you need to have, you have to have an ADA shower if you're going to have one. So like we're like, well, the bathroom we just plumbed out is not going to work for our bathroom. Right. So now we just threw a couple grand out the window, which at the time was like, oh my gosh, like, that it's still, oh my gosh, but you know what I mean? Like it was like at that time, it was even worse. So yes, then we went to this ADA bathroom and you were dealing, I think,
yes,
with.
So that's where I really got involved was you guys had started building this bathroom and it turned out that the space that it was in wasn't going to work. Like there was no way in the confines of the building to make that space work. And so, like I said, you guys were all really busy, and you basically said, figure it out. And so I picked a new spot and talked to the plumber and the electrician, because I still don't know anything at this point. Like I'm making this up as I go along. And I read all about the ADA specifications, about like how much space there needed to be, and drew it all out. Like I drew out how it was all going to be, and then I handed my drawing to the contractor and said, build it. And that was when I discovered that I love managing construction. It is just so fun and satisfying to sort of have a vision and then be able to just make it, and then it appears. And so every time I walk into the bathrooms at Berlin, I'm like, wow. Because it really did turn from just a sketch on paper with like, this is how much space we need in front of the toilet, to being like an existing space that people use on a daily basis. So yeah, I was in charge of building the bathrooms. It was extremely stressful because if you're even an inch or two off, they will make you redo it. So then I had to talk to the inspector and we passed, which was wonderful. And that was the last holdup, and then we were able to open.
We did we do, I wasn't there for the open house day. I was actually in Florida because we had a family vacation planned, and I was like, we need to do this ASAP.
Oh, yeah.
And then it was like, well, we can do it next week. And I'm like, well, I'm gone next week, but we're going to have to do it like March 2nd or April 2nd, whatever that day was, right? Or like April 8th or something like that. So then I just kind of trusted you guys to do it. Like, I think it was like you and like Nolan or something, like were there and giving tours. And because like the week prior, like we were already kind of like giving some tours, I think, or like people were coming and going, like some
people were excited.
Yeah. So, and I just said, we can't really wait. Like, let's just do this open house. Like we need to get the cash coming in. And I think we did a pretty decent opening day of like sales and stuff like that.
Yes, we did.
So that's always fun too. Like obviously we haven't opened a brand new facility since Watoma, but like that open house aspect, signing people up, that beginning process is actually a really good time. So, okay, so we'll fast forward. So now Berlin is open. What is your role in Berlin? What are you doing?
So at that point, I'm the only gym staff.
Okay.
We have 3 gyms and 1 staff.
Yep.
So I sort of fondly remember that time where
we
I
had
would
no real staffed hours though. Like we weren't like, hey, we're gonna. It was like everything was by appointment only. Because I think I was still like helping out at the time of like, I'm gonna help here, I'm gonna help there. I'm pretty sure I was still like mopping and vacuuming and that kind of stuff a little bit. But
so that's what I was gonna say is like the PF guys were there a lot.
Yeah.
And so the general idea was that the PF guys were gonna help out with a lot of the cleaning and the like lifting and stuff like that. And that then appointments would be as needed. And we had Gym Master with a door reader, so there was 24/7 gym access. So nobody had to be there locking and unlocking. We just needed to get key fobs into people's hands. It was very like self-service. And I would go every day. I would stop at the Princeton gym, and then I would stop in Green Lake, and then I would go to Berlin.
And that was convenient because it was just like a little...
Like a loop.
Yeah, so it worked out. If you're going to go to Berlin, you might as well hit all of them anyways. And where you live, you had to go past the Princeton gym and past Green Lake basically a little off. But
yeah.
Yeah, because then like Kyle, Nolan, Damon, like all those guys knew how to operate Gym Master, how to sign people up. So that was kind of our system. We were just, hey, we're not on the road today. You hit Berlin, hang out there, say hi and bye to people, right? Like, and that was just kind of what we were doing. And so, because I still think at the time I was probably trying to like not have you go as much as possible. Like, hey, like just so like if we could cover it, we would. So, okay, so now like so. From Berlin to like today, like at what point do you really start like, and I wouldn't even say like you do have more of a profound role right now as far as like what your expectations are, like what your roles are. Cause I feel like, I mean, ever since we've started 7-8 years ago, it's like nobody's really had like, I only do this. Like I'm just this person. It's like you're this person, but you also got to do all these other, these other tasks. So at what point from, now you're just kind of a gym staff, what happened when you like kind of took the next step or that next role? Like what was that next turning point? Because I know, what was that?
Probably when you bought Watoma.
Okay. Which wasn't long after actually. Like we really dove right into that too.
That was again. So Berlin opened, and then Green Lake closed right around the same time you bought Watoma, and right around the same time we had to move Princeton. Yeah. So Princeton is now on its third location in Princeton. We were in the lumberyard, and then that was sold, and the new owners worked with us for a little while, and then it just didn't work out. So we had to leave that building, and we ended up moving into the sock factory, which, we kept a gym in Princeton, but it sure wasn't great. That building also had a lot of issues. And then you bought Watoma.
When did we move in Princeton? Do you remember? What time frame or no? I'm just curious.
I don't.
September, October?
I should know. We were there for 3 years, so I think it was in the fall.
Okay.
It all happened very quickly. Like, I know, close Princeton or close Green Lake, move Princeton, start working on Watoma, all the while still running Berlin.
I know the timing worked out really well because like the Watoma deal closed, and then like we moved the product from Green Lake to here right away.
Yes.
Because like that circuit was sitting in the back of this our dumbbell room, which is not our dumbbell room, but because I remember that G7 circuit came here right away. That was like Camino's first week, so it was like the last week in September because I think we had to be out of Green Lake by like the end of September. And so I think we closed on this like the second or third week in September, where it was just like bang, bang. We just closed on it. We just got the keys. Let's move this stuff here. Just kind of ironic how that all played out. But yeah, kind of, we were in Berlin for a couple months. Green Lake closes, which we didn't have much of a heads up for Green Lake closing either. I think we had like 30 days.
Right. And that was not in our control either.
Yeah.
So there were a lot of things that happened in a very short amount of time that we had no control over.
Yeah.
And it wasn't fun. And we felt like we had kind of just gotten Green Lake to where it like looked great.
And it was just starting to do
running
well.
so well.
Yeah.
And people were so happy about it. And then we had to leave.
Yeah.
So that was really disappointing.
Yeah. Still kind of...
slightly bitter.
Yeah. Yeah. We could say it like that. So now we bought Watoma. Now what is your role transformed into? What are you doing now?
Yeah. So by that point we had realized that like one staff for multiple locations wasn't really great, and that the customers and the facilities needed more attention than that. So we had hired Nico for a while, and we had hired a few other kind of part-time staff to help out. So it wasn't, just me by that point. So then Green Lake had closed, and so the loop every day was go to Princeton and check on it, go to Berlin and check on it, come to Watoma and do construction. So the first time I walked into Watoma, it was an old grocery store, of course, so it looked like an old grocery store that had been sitting empty for 30 years. It was like cobwebby and kind of dirty, and the lights are flickering a little, it's like kind of scary. And you said something along the lines of like, I know all the things I want to do, but I don't know exactly how I want to do it. And so then we walked around the building, And I think by the time we were done walking around the building, we had it figured out. I think we had like
Yeah.
a pretty good idea of what we wanted to put where and how we wanted to do it. And so by that point, I think priority, the exercise equipment, deliveries and pickups and jobs and stuff are getting even busier. And of course, I'm aware that priority is paying the bills. Priority is paying for the
100%.
construction
Oh,
on
yeah.
these. Yes.
Yeah, Grizzly.
Right.
I mean, now we've lost Green Lake. Berlin is new, and like we're starting to cover expenses and maybe make a little, but it's going right back out the door.
Yeah.
And so yeah, priority. I mean, was really the reason that Grizzly is allowed to do what
Yes.
it's done. 100%.
Yeah. And so I knew that. And so when I say things like everybody left, to some extent that was hard because then I was handling, it was like juggling all these things. But also I knew that if you weren't going and doing that, we wouldn't be doing anything. So I was like very grateful that we were able to do those things because of priority. It just was a whole different like sort of mindset back then.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was well aware that that's what was going on. But
yeah, and to tell everybody else out there too, like Grizzly has never taken out like a loan or like has never borrowed money on its own. I mean, it's borrowed a lot of money from Priority. Like Priority's reinvested anything that it's done to give back to these communities and to build these awesome facilities. Like that's really what, and that was kind of like the vision early on too. It was like, hey, we want to use this company as like the driver to like build these other companies and like do these other awesome things. And I think everybody was kind of aware of what we were doing and why we were doing, as far as like people on our team. So
that was why the priorities had to be like that.
Yeah.
Because if you weren't working so hard and like grinding so hard on doing those jobs and making the money, the gyms would have gone under.
Right.
So good job to you for having a good business model and sticking to it.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
So now that Watoma's here, you're starting to kind of get into that project manager role. It was still like, I still didn't want to like just let it go. Like I know there was like I don't want to say like friction or tension or anything, but it was kind of like there'd be times where you'd be saying like, oh, I want to do this. And I'd be like, dude, just stop. I want to do this. You know what I mean? Like, so there's definitely, and I think we've grown a lot closer together as far as like general understanding of each other's visions and how we want to make it work. So, but early on, and again, this is 4 years ago. So I like to say when I was younger, or when I was young, not that I'm old, but like I obviously had a much different
23 at that point, I think, right?
Right. Yeah. So
and
much
I'm
different.
like 40 something.
40 something like that.
Yeah.
So we had much different mind, like a very different way of interacting then than we do now, for sure. Obviously, I've grown and matured a lot since then, and just so we've been working on how we work together. So now you're kind of doing some project manager stuff, but I really don't just say like I have to approve of like everything and say that was a dumb idea. Why did you even say that? And however I would have said it at the time, right? So that was a lot of that early on, and so you're doing your project management stuff. You're still checking on the gyms. We have some part-time people I know in Berlin. Princeton, we've never, ever had part-time people until like this year.
Yeah.
So Princeton's basically always been like me at first, then you, and then obviously random PF guys here and there. But really, like there's been no other staff there. So we get Watoma, and that's when we hire Gavino as well. The vision there with Gavino was like, hey, he's been a face in the community for a long time. He's from Watoma. Ellie can't be driving to Watoma all the time. Like, it's just not all that convenient. She's got to do other stuff. And so we hired Gavino. Gavino's first job was to sweep the place. Like, he's already told us all that. And so now, like, Watoma was a project in itself. I mean, Watoma took us over a year to basically get open and get ready. But that entire time, you're helping on projects and still doing the other gym stuff. At what point, again, when is that next leap again? Like, Watoma opens, and now your role again is... Because now it's only 3 locations again. Like, we're not Omro, no Rosendale. And so what... Yeah, tell me more.
Well, the first thing that happened was, of course, that we had to get a state permit to work on the Watoma building. So my job shifted quite dramatically to working with an architect, getting designs drawn up. Of course, we ended up with some difficult situations throughout that time because the gym was not able to open because of permit concerns. So it took several months to pull all the paperwork together, because it's not just like you don't just draw it on a piece of paper and call it good. You have to have professionals involved, and it has to be done to a pretty high standard. So we had to come up with a plan. We had to get it all drawn out. We had to get all the backup paperwork that goes with that. And then file that paperwork, and then wait. And while we were waiting, there were some things we could do, like paint. I think I designed the front desk at that point. I think we did some work on the office, like, because it had been the meat processing station, and it was nasty. It was horribly nasty. So we took all the horrible, ugly stuff down and like just replaced it with new materials, so it looked nicer. And then the permit was approved finally, and so then there was a very, very busy period of about 2 or 3 months where we were building more ADA compliant bathrooms. We were building walls. We had to install a firewall to satisfy fire code. So I'm working with the contractors. I'm learning how to go from a design to a finished product. I'm trying to envision, like, what is this building going to be, what it's going to look like, what colors should it be, what's the classroom going to be like, and just making decisions. And so by this point, I'm now responsible for helping you to spend large amounts of money.
Which wasn't easy either, huh?
Right, yes.
That was actually probably like, I don't know about the worst time that you worked with us, but it was like your job was not to make us any more money, but to spend money, which in the long term would make money. But like in the immediate term, it was like, stop asking for money, right?
Yeah.
It was like, we don't have any, like the cost is, it's got to be as cheap as possible. So there's this constant, like, again, that friction tension of like, oh my God, I don't even want to see Ellie because she's just going to have to spend more money. And so I think that was, maybe I'm speaking, I think that was maybe one of the most stressful times of you to work here because of like, pissing us all off. You're trying to spend all the money. Right. We don't have any, It
was like I was in this position and you resented the position.
Yeah.
And of course, I was the person in the position, so therefore it really felt like you resented me for telling you what needed to happen to make the building up to code and safe and comfortable and all these things. And yeah, that didn't always go very well.
There was so many, we don't need to talk about Watoma a whole lot, but there's so many problems. Like, right now, I still don't think you could convince me that we needed a firewall. I think that is the dumbest thing. I don't understand why that was even necessary because it's
cheaper than sprinklers.
Yeah, exactly.
That was the other option, was to install a complete sprinkler system, and that would have cost like $200,000 all by itself because we would have had to replace the water lines and the water main, and that would have been way worse. So
there was a lot of weird, like the permit process took a year. We bought the existing gym in Watoma to relocate it. Like the existing gym that's been around since like 98. We bought that to then relocate to our current facility. But our goal was to open by January 1. And so a quick transition, but then also we found out this permit thing. And so then now we've got all these pissed off gym members here in Watoma because they don't have a gym to go at, even though we gave them free access to our other facilities. Like, so there's just all these other stressful things that were just like, man, this whole deal has sucked and like not what we expected, but
getting permits is not fun. Like,
well, and then you don't get any response either, right? Like you can't call and just ask, like they're just like, we'll get to you when we get to you, right?
Right. It's like a million tiny details and it's just paperwork and paperwork and paperwork. And now, I don't mind doing paperwork, but I'm also a fairly active person. So when I'm chained to my desk for like, days or weeks on end, like doing this minute crap, it got really old. And then to have just this, the town was unhappy and rightfully so, because we had made promises and then not lived up to them. And we didn't have any answers. We couldn't say like, it'll be done July 1st. So like months went by and we couldn't tell anybody what the situation was. Yeah. Or when it was going to get resolved. So yeah, there was like a lot of negativity surrounding that.
In the grand scheme of things, like I think we've definitely learned to not like overplay the cards or say too much. But at the same time, the marketing aspect that came of the gym that's closed and it's right here and like I don't know when it's going to open, like that was such a big thing. I think that really helped us as soon as we were able to open.
People were talking, that was for sure.
Yeah, like there's no such thing as bad publicity. I think that's a direct exactly. So
gosh.
So, okay, see what we got for time. We are definitely over on time, but let's talk about,
I still didn't, that was all like lead up to me answering your question. I never even answered your question, of like, which was that then Gavino was hired to be the manager of Watoma. Yes. Which was weird for me because then I had to step out of like that role. Yeah. And so that was when, now I'm like managing Gavino basically. I am not, Gavino's manager, but I was the one who had the experience and I was the one who had built the facilities or I didn't.
And then we just kind of handed it off to Gavino though, too,
yes,
which I think
yes.
was a problem.
Like I had created kind of the space. I had ideas about how it should be, and then to be like, here's what I think, but also like you need to put your own sort of stamp on it.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, and I know like that was kind of, yeah, we'll leave that. Because, like, yeah, so we brought Gavino on, and then it was just kind of like, and the other thing too is like we never really used the term manager. You know,
Right.
like I never wanted to give anybody that feeling of like, not entitlement, and I still say that today, but like, I didn't want to admit that you were the manager, or I didn't want to like, and then all of a sudden it was like, Gavino's going to come on and be the Watoma manager. It's like, well, we haven't even used that term before. At least that's how I feel like I was as a leader. Like I didn't like to use that. I didn't like to give anybody like too much or say like, this is your thing, you know. It was just like help where you need help and stuff. So again, yeah, one of those like kind of weird sticking points there. So fast forward to like today, and from that, you know, so Watoma opened 22?
Yeah.
September of 22?
Yes.
And so September of 22, so basically 23 to now, I think your role has changed dramatically. We've hired way more staff since then.
More.
We've brought on the personal training stuff. Let's get to kind of like present day and like what your role is now. And let's also like kind of like maybe just do like an overview reflection of like, you know, when you first started here, did you expect to be doing what you know what I mean? Like let's kind of let's talk about what you do today, and then let's do a little bit of like reflection looking back, I guess. So
yeah. So just real briefly, of course, we took over Rosendale in 2023. We took over Amro in 2024. 2025, I want to say really the personal training program got rolling. And of course, partnered with O-Town also in 2024, and that's sort of an ongoing project. So yes, as we started to hire staff, you know, now I have like some amount of experience. I have experience, and I understand all the systems that we have. You know, like I know Gym Master, I know all these other things. So I end up in sort of this like management role where I'm helping to manage the people. I'm helping to manage the systems. So I'm like admin. So anytime there's a back end issue, a problem with Gym Master, any problems anywhere, it's sort of my job to notice them and fix them. Whether that's a staff issue, a facilities issue, a back end issue, a financial real estate, you know, whatever it is, you're just like, hey, we're doing this, and then I'm doing this thing, and then it's like, hey, we're doing this, and I'm doing the thing. So I am like admin, construction management. I guess my technical title is like general manager. So I have some influence over all the facilities, and I'm like helping the staff to do their best jobs in their particular roles. And keeping up with you. Keeping up with Colton is like pretty high on the list of
yeah, I mean, there's always moving parts, and obviously you're very involved with like what's next and what's the vision, and I feel like we do a pretty good job. I know some of the concerns like in the past year, let's say, or the past couple of years has been like we've grown so quickly, and that's not always been like your forte. It's been like, well, let's make sure we're doing things right. And when we first started 6-7 years ago, you were pretty involved, or at least in the know of most things. There's some things I wouldn't tell you just because it'd be like I don't want to necessarily talk about it, but most of the time, I'm a very like I want to ask for people's opinions, and I want to make sure we're making the right decision. And I just want everybody's idea on what they think of this. And even if I think differently, like I just want to at least get that perspective. And I was very good at that in the beginning, and then I know in the last couple of years, it kind of felt like you didn't necessarily hear those things. But because we were growing so quickly, I couldn't have those conversations with everybody all the time, and there was like only so much time to make the decision, right? So again, over the years, we've learned to kind of like grow together, how to work together better. But there's always like these things that we've been working on like you weren't happy because, you know, again, I wasn't necessarily communicating with the best with you. But that was like a growing pain and just like how this was all working. So if you look back, you know, and I mean, if I look back, so let's just kind of use this time to reflect, like one, I never would have thought that like when we first had that conversation about helping clean the gym and all this other stuff, that like you would be where you are today,
right.
Like being
by no means.
Yeah. Like I would have never imagined that. I mean, like even when we first started for the first couple of years, I still wouldn't say I imagined to be where we're at now with you and the position that you're in. So walking in that door was obviously like a blessing, you know, that you came in and that it was an accident and that you're with the team
I ended up in the right place.
I mean, we wouldn't be necessarily where we're at today, especially without you. I mean, you serve such a large role and you've done so many great things for our business. And I mean, like, what have I tried to figure out how to do the permit process stuff? Yes, but like it wouldn't have been easy. You know what I mean? So you served a very big role there. So looking back, I mean, what's your reflection point? Like, what do you?
Well, I certainly didn't envision it either. Like I said, like I had a very small picture. And I have to keep reminding myself, like with you, think big, keep thinking bigger, more. Just that you have such a wide range of like motivation and direction and things you want to do. And you're like always learning and you're always excited. And I love all of that. I would be bored if we were doing the same thing day in and day out forever. So I actually, you know, you always say you love chaos. And I enjoy the chaos too because it's not boring and it's a challenge. But chaos doesn't play very well with customer service. And so my job has always sort of been to like catch the chaos as much as I can before it gets to the customers so that we are running like a cohesive, customer-friendly business that works. And it, you know, it's not perfect. There's a lot of problems. We miss things. We make mistakes. But like you have this amazing like passion and ability to do new things and try new things and go in directions that other people, it wouldn't even occur to them, or they would have a million reasons not to do it. It's going to be too expensive. It's too hard. It's, you know, I don't know how. Whereas you just figure it out, and I really enjoy that. So I think every time you came up with something new, it became more and more fun. Because, and you know, I probably don't always act like it's fun. I'm like, why are we doing this?
Yeah.
So there's a certain amount of foot dragging on my part because I'm still 3 systems back in terms of like what I'm thinking about or what I'm trying to finish. And you're 3 steps ahead already. And so I do get frustrated sometimes because I want to finish that stuff before we keep going. But as the challenge grows, I enjoy it more. So like when we stepped up from Princeton, which was really fairly simple, to Green Lake, which was a little more complex, to Berlin, where I was like, construction is so fun, to Wautoma, where I was again like, I just helped create a ginormous fitness facility and people love it. And it's going really well, and I contributed to this, and that was very fulfilling. And then to continue increasing the complexity by like adding Rosendale, adding Omro, adding personal training, adding O-Town, it just gets more and more challenging, for lack of a better word. And I like stepping up to that. I like that it's not easy. And that's just really, really appealing to me. So I think that's the sense in which this has worked out much better than I ever would have expected, because you and I are completely different. Like we think about things differently. We have a different mindset. We're different age. You know, we're just extremely different people. But I think we both really enjoy that challenge.
Yeah. Like I said, I think over the years we've definitely, there's still things that we're learning on how to work with each other and one another, and the best ways to communicate, and is now a good time to talk or not a good time to talk, that kind of stuff. We do share an office for those listening, a couple days a week, depending on where Ellie's at. So, you know, just like little things, right? Like, is now a good time to have a conversation, right? Like, and that's something we're always working on. Is now a good time to talk? Is now not a good time to talk? And even when you're not with me, if I'm on a PF job or whatever, it's just always like, because we have to have a lot of conversations. We have to make a lot of decisions together and just make sure we've got the right direction. So at this point, you and Gavino, I feel like, make a lot of decisions for the company. And I feel like I've tried to instill kind of like, well, what would you guys do first? And make sure that you guys are making the decisions for the most part. I think I've kind of taken a little bit more backseat role on make the decision first. And then like, if there's an issue with it, we'll kind of discuss it later. And then obviously anything major, especially when it comes around spending or maybe a policy change that we want to implement. Now that you and Gavino and I have like a good group chat, I think we're having more conversations about that and making group decisions. So I'm very happy with obviously to where we're at today. And I think that we're going to continue growing and doing more things. I think that I think what's awesome too, and we'll wrap this up here shortly, but like working with you, I know that you're always willing to learn the things you need to learn to continue moving up that ladder. Because so something I've been thinking about, right, is like we're working on Priority Fitness and growing that company. Kyle and Nolan are my two best friends forever. And working with best friends sometimes isn't always easy. And we've obviously overcome a lot too. But like, again, this big vision in the direction we want to go, like I want Kyle and Nolan to continue growing with the company. We're all young guys, 27, 28. So what I really enjoy though is that you're willing to like learn and just do whatever it takes to kind of get to the next level. If we have 50 gyms, if we have 25 gyms, if we have the same amount of gyms we have today, like whatever new challenge it is, you're willing to read that book, to learn this, to understand that, communicate with people you need to communicate with, deal with the state permit process, the architects, and you may have never had to do those things before, but it's like, well, that's my role. I'm willing to do what it takes to get to that next level. So, and I need somebody like that, obviously, with me in order to get to that spot because I'm very much a visionary, ideas. If I had to figure it out on my own, I would. It would just be a lot slower because I'm trying to figure out all these other ideas. So the way that we work together, the visionary and like wanting to do the systems and then like just all of that together, I think has paired really well. And with me wanting to read and learn as much as I have over the last 18 months, I think you've taken a lot away from that. I think we've grown. I think in the last 18 months, we've probably grown much greater than we have even before that, just because of like the things we're doing together, our team meetings, like the group that I'm involved in with the gym owners and stuff. So anyways, is there anything else that you wanted to say, leave them with? Anything else that you want to throw in?
Not at the moment. It's been a good time. Glad to be here. Plan to be here for a long time. New and exciting things around every corner.
I think we could spend some time just writing down like stories of things over the last 7-8 years and do more storytelling, which I think people enjoy. So maybe that would be kind of like a future episode where we just kind of dive a little bit deeper into like the early days or, that kind of stuff. But we will wrap this up. I do want to say I really do appreciate you and everything that you've done for us. We wouldn't be where we're at without you. So thank you for being you. Thank you for pissing me off as much as you have, but also...
that's also really high on my job list. Yeah. Piss off Colton as much as possible. So with the greater good in mind.
I think I've learned a lot from you just on like communicate, like just everything, every aspect of life. I feel like I can't just say that I've been reading all these books and dealing with other people. I think dealing with you has actually allowed me to become a better person in a way. So
I'm so glad to have helped with that. I take the brunt of all your irritation.
Yeah. I would say you do not have an easy job because if anybody hears how I really feel, it's probably you, right? Like, and yes, and there's only been most of the time if we get in what would be an argument.
It's not an argument,
and if it is, we do a good job of like again thinking logically later and just having a conversation. Like
it's a disagreement.
Yeah.
Like I feel like even by the time we're done talking, we're not upset with each other.
Yeah.
Like we can just kind of say whatever and neither of us gets mad or holds a grudge.
Yeah.
At least, I mean, I still think you're holding a grudge because I said you should slow down like 8 years ago.
that one replays.
And
I told other people about that one.
I know you did. You said it on the podcast once.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you didn't have me on here. You just told stories about how I got lost trying to get to the gym and then I made you angry. Yeah. So it sounded real good. Anybody who doesn't know me.
Perfect.
But for everybody who does know me, then I'm glad to be here and thank you very much.
Thank you. Yes, I do. Everybody who's listening, our regular listeners, a lot of people early on definitely knew who Ellie was. And to this day, like Princeton knows who Ellie is. I would argue that there's a fair amount of people in Berlin and again in Watoma, but you've been so disconnected from like staffing Berlin and Watoma. Yeah. Obviously Rosendale, Amro. So any of you who are listening, who have some friends that go to the gym, share this episode. I think it's really cool to see the early on and also to understand who Ellie is and how she plays, how she is involved in the company behind the curtains as well, because she did play a very large part in where we are today and still plays a very large part in where we're going. So for those of you listening, please share the episode. We're going to wrap up here, longer episode. So appreciate you guys. Thank you again for being on. Thank you guys for listening, and we'll see you on the next one.